There exists a profound truth that few people understand. There is a test that our soul faces in absolute silence. This test lies beyond the reach of therapists, beyond the pages of self-help books, beyond even the understanding of those who love you most. You may have lived through years believing you were simply surviving difficult times, unaware that you were actually undergoing the most rigorous examination a human consciousness can ever face. During decades of working with people in transformation, I have studied these invisible initiations that completely reshape certain souls. I have observed that some individuals pass through a process of spiritual rebirth through a doorway of profound suffering, a suffering that leaves no external scars, yet transforms everything within. The signs of this transformation, however, are not obvious. They manifest in the most subtle ways, recognizable only to those souls who have walked this same path. Perhaps you have already passed this test without knowing it. Perhaps the evidence is written in your energy, in the way you move through the world, in the quality of your presence that others sense but cannot name. These 7 signs we will explore are not achievements to be celebrated with fanfare, but quiet recognitions, an inner knowing that our consciousness has been forever altered by its encounter with its deepest truth. I have come to understand that certain souls undergo a second psychological birth during their lifetime. This birth does not announce itself loudly. It happens in the spaces between words, in the silence after storms, in the moment when you realize that the person you thought you were fighting to become already lives quietly within you. The essential question then is not whether you are worthy of this transformation, but whether you can recognize that it has already begun. Like a tree that grows stronger after surviving a lightning strike, the psyche develops a new form of resilience. This is not the brittle strength that resists all pressure, but the flexible power that bends without breaking, that incorporates challenge into its very structure. First sign: your relationship with solitude has transformed. The first sign reveals itself in your relationship with solitude. Where once aloneness felt like punishment, it has now transformed into a sanctuary. For years I have written about the abandonment complex, that deep psychological wound that drives us to scatter our energy in desperate searches for approval and connection. When this complex no longer governs your choices, something fundamental has shifted. Let me tell you about Sarah, a 42-year-old marketing executive from Chicago. After a painful divorce and losing her job in the same year, she found herself forced to face the silence of her empty apartment. At first, panic consumed her. She would call anyone, accept any social invitation, anything to avoid being alone with herself. But something began to change. In the quiet nights, when there was no one left to call, Sarah discovered an inner voice that had been muffled by decades of external noise. She began to realize that her best ideas, her wisest decisions, emerged not from interaction with others, but from communion with the deeper parts of herself. I find peace and wisdom in the quietude of my own being. Your energy ceases to disperse itself in seeking external validation. A particular quality of stillness emerges in those who have passed through their soul's most demanding trial. It is not the stillness of withdrawal or depression, but the quietude that comes from no longer needing to convince anyone of your worth, including yourself. You become capable of being genuinely alone without that restless urge to fill the space with noise, activity, or other people's energy. This solitude becomes creative rather than destructive. It is in these quiet moments that you discover your best insights arise not from interaction with others, but from communion with the deeper parts of yourself that only emerge when the external world grows silent. The paradox becomes clear. the more comfortable you become with your own company, the more attractive you become to those seeking authentic connection. Your nervous system has recalibrated. Where once the unknown triggered automatic anxiety, you now approach mystery with active imagination. My presence is a gift I consciously offer to the world. Second sign, you have integrated your shadow. The second sign manifests in your relationship with your own shadow. Much of my work has been devoted to exploring shadow integration, the process by which we stop rejecting the darker aspects of our personality and begin to work with them consciously. This integration occurs within you in ways that would have been impossible before your trial. You develop a brutal honesty with yourself about your capacity for manipulation, your hunger for power, your ability to wound others when threatened. Rather than terrifying you, this self-knowledge becomes a source of strength. Consider the story of Maria, a 38-year-old nurse from Phoenix. For years, she prided herself on being the nice person who never got angry, never said no, always put others' needs before her own. But this niceness was costing her mental and physical health. She was exhausted, resentful, but unable to admit her anger. The turning point came when she realized that her kindness was actually a form of control. She was nice because she wanted to be loved, not because she genuinely cared. This realization was devastating, but liberating. Maria began to recognize her anger not as a character flaw to be eliminated, but as sacred energy to be understood and channeled consciously. I accept all aspects of myself with love and understanding. Your anger transforms from something that either exploded destructively or festered in repression into what might be called a sacred fire. It burns now only what needs to be destroyed in your life. Relationships that no longer serve your growth, patterns that keep you small, agreements you made when you knew less about your own worth. There is an energetic integrity that others sense in you. Even when you remain silent, people feel your authenticity because you have made peace with your own contradictions. You no longer try to resolve the paradoxes within yourself, but have learned to hold them consciously, allowing them to create the dynamic tension essential for psychological growth. I channel my emotional energy in constructive and loving ways. Third sign, you have developed immunity to projection. The third sign manifests as immunity to projection. Projection is the unconscious process by which people deposit their unprocessed psychological material onto others. You develop an almost scientific ability to observe when someone is making you responsible for emotions, reactions, or insights that belong to them. Think about Jennifer, a 45-year-old consultant from Seattle. She used to be the emotional dumping ground for her family and circle of friends. Whenever someone was in crisis, they called Jennifer. She absorbed their anxieties, carried their fears, tried to solve their problems. This left her exhausted and frequently depressed, but she didn't know how to stop. The transformation came when Jennifer realized she was being used as an emotional release valve. People would dump their unprocessed emotions on her and then feel better, while she was left carrying the weight. She began to recognize the limits of her responsibility and the wisdom of allowing others to face their own challenges. I offer compassion without losing my own inner peace. You watch triangulations, manipulations, and emotional games with the detached interest of a researcher studying natural phenomena. Your compassion evolves from the codependent variety that sacrifices itself to rescue others into mature compassion, the kind that offers presence without losing itself in another's suffering. You no longer experience the automatic anxiety that once made their emergencies your emergencies. Instead, there is a serene recognition of the limits of your responsibility and the wisdom of allowing others to meet their own challenges, you find yourself naturally stepping back from situations where your energy is being used to maintain someone else's emotional equilibrium. This stepping back is not cruelty, but clarity about the difference between supporting someone's growth and enabling their avoidance of necessary lessons. I protect my energy with love and divine wisdom. Fourth sign. Your intuitive capacity has blossomed. The fourth sign emerges in your intuitive capacity, which blossoms into a fully activated function. Where once you relied primarily on logical analysis, you now consult an inner knowing that connects you to information beyond the reach of rational thought. This is one of the most profound changes. Synchronicities flow through your life with increasing frequency, creating a sense that events align according to an intelligence far greater than your conscious planning. Let me share the experience of Rebecca, a 41-year-old artist from Austin. For years, she struggled to make decisions, creating endless lists of pros and cons, consulting friends, obsessively researching every option. But after going through a series of devastating losses, her mother's death, the end of a 15-year marriage, and a financial crisis, something shifted. Rebecca began to notice that the best decisions came not from her analytical mind, but from a sensation in her body, a belly wisdom that she learned to trust. When an opportunity felt right, her entire being aligned. When something was wrong, she felt a subtle contraction, an energetic no that preceded any rational analysis. I trust the infinite wisdom that flows through me. You perceive motivations, patterns, and outcomes that remain hidden to others, not through cynicism, but through a refined sensitivity to the energetic information flowing beneath surface appearances. Decision-making no longer requires extensive pros and cons lists. Instead, you develop a direct line to your own ancestral wisdom. A quality of listening develops within you that goes far beyond hearing words. You attune to the spaces between sentences, the emotions hiding beneath explanations, the soul speaking through the persona. I listen with my heart and see with my soul. Fifth sign. You have embraced the natural cycles of life. The fifth sign reveals itself in your embrace of the cyclical nature of psychological development. You integrate the archetype of death and rebirth so completely that you no longer fear the periods when your life seems to dissolve. These times of apparent ending become familiar preludes to expansion and renewal. Your relationship with uncertainty transforms from avoidance into active engagement. Where once you needed guaranteed outcomes, you now recognize that the most meaningful growth occurs in the space between decision and result, in the willingness to act from inner alignment. Consider the journey of Lisa, a 39-year-old executive from Denver. She had always been a meticulous planner, someone who needed to control every variable, predict every outcome. But life had other plans. A series of unexpected changes, a corporate restructuring, health issues, family changes, forced her to navigate completely uncharted waters. At first, Lisa fought against uncertainty with every fiber of her being. But gradually, she began to realize that her moments of greatest growth came not when everything was under control, but when she surrendered to the natural flow of life. She learned to dance with the unknown instead of fighting against it. I trust in life's perfect rhythm and flow with its changes. An energetic economy begins to work within you, protecting your vital resources. Your energy is no longer scattered across dozens of draining commitments. Instead, you learn to invest your life force strategically, like a wise gardener. You understand that growth moves in spirals, not straight lines, revisiting themes at deeper levels. This brings tremendous patience with your own process. Your creativity undergoes a fundamental shift from external achievement to internal expression. I honor each season of my life as sacred and necessary. Sixth sign. You have freed yourself from external validation. The sixth sign emerges in your relationship with external validation. The inferiority complex, those wounds that drive us to constantly compare and prove ourselves, dissolves within you so completely that the impulse to measure your worth against external standards feels foreign. You develop inner authority, a psychological structure that validates your experiences independently of social consensus. Your self-worth no longer fluctuates with the changing tides of opinion. Criticism and praise register with similar neutrality, processed as information, not verdicts. Let's talk about Amanda, a 44-year-old writer from Portland. For decades, she lived on the emotional roller coaster of external approval. A positive review would send her to the clouds. A negative one would devastate her for weeks. She wrote not from the heart, but from fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of judgment, fear of rejection. The transformation came when Amanda realized she was giving her power to people who didn't even truly know her. She began to develop an internal validation system based on her own integrity and authenticity. Her words became more powerful because they came from a place of truth, not need. My worth is inherent and does not depend on others' opinions. This shift frees enormous energy previously consumed in managing your image. Your authenticity becomes non-negotiable. You naturally choose rejection for who you truly are over acceptance for a performance. The way you inhabit your physical body shifts. A groundedness emerges from genuine self-possession. You move through space as someone who belongs to themselves first. There is a natural dignity in your presence that doesn't need to be announced or defended. You stop contorting yourself to fit others' expectations. Instead, you become a beacon of authenticity that naturally attracts those who resonate with your truth. Others' approval becomes a pleasant bonus, not a desperate necessity. Seventh sign. You have achieved energetic sovereignty. The seventh sign manifests as refined discrimination about how you invest your energy. The process of individuation culminates in what can be called energetic sovereignty, the ability to protect your essence without aggression, simply through conscious choice. Your presence becomes more selective and more precious. You no longer distribute yourself indiscriminately. This is not elitism, but wisdom about the sacred nature of your own life force. Think about Catherine from Boston. For years, she was available to everyone, at any time. Her phone rang constantly. Her schedule was always packed. Her energy was perpetually depleted. She believed that saying no was selfishness, that setting boundaries was lack of compassion. But Catherine began to realize that her constant availability wasn't actually serving anyone. She was so exhausted that she couldn't offer her best presence. Her clients felt her exhaustion. Her family received only the remnants of her energy. The transformation came when Catherine understood that protecting her energy was an act of love, not selfishness. She began to set clear boundaries, to consciously choose where to invest her life force. Paradoxically, the less available she became, the more valuable her presence became. I protect my energy as the sacred treasure it is. A natural authority emanates from you now. Not power over others, but power over yourself, which is the hallmark of psychological maturity. The guilt that once accompanied setting limits dissolves. You protect your energy with the naturalness of protecting any precious resource. You learn to recognize those individuals, projects, and relationships that drain your vitality without offering anything of value in return. Your relationship with suffering itself undergoes a fundamental transformation. Where once pain was something to be avoided, it becomes a teacher whose lessons you receive with gratitude. This doesn't mean you seek suffering. but that you extract wisdom from unavoidable challenges. A stillness follows you now, not an absence of movement, but a presence of deep centeredness. This stillness attracts those who are searching for something they cannot name. The complete transformation. You become a living example of the individuated soul. Your relationship with hope matures from wishful thinking into an active faith in the life process itself. You no longer hope for specific outcomes, but develop trust in your own capacity to meet whatever emerges. This second psychological birth marks not just recovery, but a fundamental reorganization of consciousness. You become psychologically independent of your early programming. There is a sense of completion that has nothing to do with external achievements and everything to do with an internal reconciliation. You no longer need to recover from your past because you have learned to create from your present moment. The person you thought you should become is revealed as a limitation compared to the unique being you already are. I am complete, whole, and perfect exactly as I am. Your journey continues, but a crucial phase is complete. You have passed through the soul's most demanding examination, emerging not unscathed, but integrated, not unchanged, but more essentially yourself. The test revealed your true nature. The secret I spent my lifetime learning becomes your lived reality. The soul does not grow despite suffering, but through a conscious and transformative relationship with it. Your pain became your teacher. Your wounds became your wisdom. You carry the quiet dignity of someone who has met themselves completely and found not perfection, but wholeness. If you recognize yourself in these signs, know that you have passed through an initiation that most will never understand. Your transformation serves not only your own evolution but creates a template of possibility for others. You become a beacon of hope for those still navigating their own inner storms. And your journey of conscious evolution has only just begun. Each day offers new opportunities to apply this hard-won wisdom, to live from this place of authenticity and inner power. You are no longer a survivor of your life. You are its conscious creator. Your soul's most difficult test revealed your deepest truth. You are infinitely stronger, wiser, and more loving than you ever imagined. And this is just the first layer of who you truly are. To continue your journey of self-discovery and growth with us, simply like this video and subscribe to join our beautiful community. I celebrate my journey and embrace my infinite power.